All right, well, it's time to work on the bug. Tom's not here and the garage is a mess, as per usual. So clean up first, find boy, move car, get stuck into it in that order. I'm an idiot. So to go, Tom, you ready to do some work on the bug?
Yep, sure am.
All right, mate, well, let's open up the garage and get into it.
Alrighty.
All right, Tom, well, we've got the front end off. We can now get a good look at the Beetle. We can look all the way through and check it all out. Just as James starts up the lawnmower next door.
That is ding dong.
You certainly can pull it apart quite easily. But the first thing I've noticed is, hear that noise?
Yeah.
You rattle that, you move that. That's actually the bearing inside the hub here. There's a bearing in here and it's not seated correctly. It's possibly worn and it's causing this whole hub to move. And what that does is that chews out the brakes, gives the wheel a bit of a bad alignment and so forth, but generally creates all sorts of havoc. So first things first, I think we get the brake off, have a look at the brake and start pulling apart the front end. We've got a Kingpin rebuild kit, but we might need shock absorbers and tie rod ends and all that sort of stuff. But let's get it all apart, get it all apart in front of the car, and then we can see what we need.
Yeah.
Does that sound cool?
Yeah.
You ready to do some work? Hey Tom, what I'm actually thinking we're going to do is, rather than just pull off the individual parts, let's just pull the whole front end out.
Yeah.
And get the whole front end on the ground. We'll start by pulling off that front bar, disconnect all the steering and just pull that whole A-arm beam, the twin beam straight off, put it at the front and go from there.
Yep.
All right, mate, now we've got the fuel tank out. You can see we've got full access all the way inside. Can you see where the steering couple is on that side over there?
Yep.
Okay, so we can have a good look inside here. We can get to the steering couple, we can undo all this. We can also undo the top of the front beam mount and pull that off. And we can also give this a clean up in here if we want. All right, Tom, front end is now out, mate, and we can have a good look at it. It doesn't actually look too bad, but we're going to have to go through and steam clean it all, degrease it all as well.
Yep.
You'll be able to do that, won't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be able to pull the brakes off and redo those kingpins, and the kingpins go down through there. Redo the brakes, get the brakes machined. Steering box wasn't too bad, but we'll have a bit of a look and just see if that's okay there. We need another steering coupler.
Yeah.
That looks a bit average to say the least. So we need front. And that's really about it.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Looks good. I'm happy. Okay, so Rubes, what we're going to do is we're going to pull the engine out of the back of the bug because we know that it runs okay. We're going to get it out, we're going to get it dismantled, and we're going to detail it and make it look pretty. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah! The best thing about Volkswagen engines is that they're only held in with 4 bolts. So there's 1, 2 and 3, 4 down the bottom. So once you pull those out, the whole thing pulls backwards, and as long as you've got everything disconnected, it should come straight out. And after a bit of grunting and groaning, here we go. Got it up on a milk crate because they don't actually weigh all that much. Volkswagen motors have actually got a magnesium case and barrels and stuff on the side, and you can make them lighter by taking the exhaust off. Under these circumstances, it was easier just to pull it out, get it up on here. Now, what we're going to do now is basically strip all the tin work off of it, get the tins painted, start doing some detail work, and make the thing look nice and pretty. If you come across an area that's quite hard that you want to paint, lots of curves and bits and pieces, this stuff is fantastic. Alfoil, worth its weight in gold. All right, well, as you can see, it's starting to come together and it's starting to look pretty good. The little touches are starting to happening. The next one is going to be this intake manifold, as interesting as this is. Now, what this also has is it has these heater pipes that go through here, and it heats up the base of the carby. Now, you don't really need them in Australia because it obviously gets a bit warm. I've read all sorts of bits and pieces, but I'm not a big fan of them. It sort of sits across the top like this and sort of, you know, branches off to the side. So I was thinking about cutting them off, but then I think what I might do is I might just leave them on, blank them off, and go from there. So hit it with a wire wheel, get it all ready to go, and then I think we might go silver with this and give it a bit of a contrasting colour to all the black that's sitting on there. And here it is. All right, well, we're in the home straight. The final thing now to do is to mock up the extractors and the exhaust on the back, and then we're going to spin it around and we're going to take the clutch and the flywheel off, but it's starting to really come together. Okay, so the engine's out. I've got a few things on order. Wait for that to come back and then I can put the whole lot back together and chuck it in. But before I go and do that, I need to turn my attention over here to the rear gearbox and suspension area, check all the rubbers, change the oil, get the brakes sorted out, and generally check it all over to make sure it's 100%. I also have to have a look at the shift linkage as well. I think it might be bent, so a little bit less chat and a little bit more work. All right, so next up on the road to getting the engine back in, I've got to get the oil out of this thing, and I haven't been looking forward to it. I've actually been putting it off, but I've got to do it now. It's got to be changed. I don't even know how much is in there, and I don't know how long it has been in there for. So get underneath and let's go. Okay, so as it appears, the sump plug for the gearbox is a big hexagonal head thing that I don't have. And the biggest I've got is this one here, and it's nowhere near. So I'm going to have to get a little bit creative and maybe do something out of a bolt. Bit of old school mechanic in me. Let's see if it's still there. So I needed to make a tool because this was the drain plug, and as you can see it's got a hex head, quite a big one. I managed to find a bolt, put a set of vice grips on it, and this thing fits absolutely perfectly on top. So there you go, job sorted. Okay, so I've taken the oil out and everything was going okay. Pulled it back out, used my little special tool, but I have found something that is of concern, and the concern is the lack thereof of oil. There's really not a much in that gearbox at all. Now, I know at the best of times Volkswagens don't actually take too much oil, but this one here is really low. So one or two things are going to happen. Either we'll fluke it and the gearbox will be okay, or the gearbox will be noisy and the synchros will be noisy, in which case we do have that other gearbox at the other end. So I think what we'll do for now is just fill this one up, cross our fingers, and hope it's okay. Yeah, all right. Well, mate, I'll give you this one because I want to give you a bit of an update as to where we are with the car, because there's a few things going on. Now, in the videos prior to this, I've been working on the gearbox at the back, but the reality of it is we've hit a bit of a problem, all right? But let's start at the front over here, because you'll notice all the stuff's been sitting out here, not doing too much, all this gear at the front. Well, that's the front end, okay? And what we actually have to do is we have to actually lower the front end. And in order to do that, we've got to put some adjusters in. And I'm speaking to a guy who put me in touch with another guy, and I'm trying to do this and trying to get that going. I think what we can do is get it all steam cleaned and get it all pulled apart and ready to go. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Because I know you've asked me a few times about what's going on up there, but the major issue is actually over here. So come down the back here, just watch the tools as you come through. And what we've got here is, as you can see, we've got the engine all painted up, ready to go and itching to go back in, right? But then we've got the gearbox, and can you see that over there, that dirt and stuff? You know what that is? Go on, get down there and have a look. What does that look like to you?
Oil and dirt put together.
Yeah, oil and dirt. This is a bit more over that side as well.
Yeah.
Down over there. Well, what actually happened was, mate, is that's the gearbox that came with the Beetle, and I thought I'll start by just emptying the oil out of the gearbox and just filling it up with fresh oil, as you normally do when you get a second-hand car. But have a look how much oil came out of that gearbox.
Nothing, just about.
Right, can you see that?
Yeah, next to nothing.
That's hardly anything. And what I reckon happened over time was the guy that had it before us probably didn't realise it had a gearbox leak, and it's just flicked the oil out, right? So what actually I think has to happen is we have to take the gearbox out. I really didn't want to do this, but we're going to have to take the gearbox out. We're going to have to replace all the seals, and we just have to cross our fingers that they're okay inside. I've been told they're pretty tough, all right? But I want to show you one more thing. You go through the driver's side, and I'll go around this side. Have a look at the gear lever. Open the door up and come in here and have a bit of a look at that. Remove the shift light tacho. You don't need to see any of that until later on, okay? So here's the deal, right? I actually put the quick shifter into this, right? And the quick shifter means that it will shift a lot quicker and easier. But here's the problem. Normally it's like first, second, third, fourth, right? But have a look at what's going on with the shifter. See, it's rotating?
Yeah.
Right? So down in it, it actually has this sort of pin that sits into this thing at the bottom. And for some reason or other, you and I are not Volkswagen guys, and it's moving around. So we're going to have to get some more instructions. We might actually have to take this rod out through the front and straighten it out. So, mate, I'll sit at the front of the car. The reality of it is that the Volkswagen is going to need a little bit more work than what we thought. So what we have to do now is clean the entire shed up and do what I call a workshop reset. All right, Tom? And what that means, mate, is you basically put everything back, all the tools back into their containers and all that sort of stuff, get everything ready to go. Make sure your plan and your process is good so you don't have to double handle anything. Does that sound cool?
Yep.
Let's get into it.